Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another part 2 of Johnny Nobise History Channel about ancient Italy. And we're gonna read more of these. So, we're gonna be watching a video, and then after the video, I'm going to read these paragraphs right here, starting during the early ages, Italian. So I'll be coming back on this topic after the video. So enjoy the ancient Italy video. After fall, the ever-sculpting kingdom in Italy and once be brought under control. But of course, when you pause it, guys, you'll read it. These are the fields. These are the map. This is Italy, the map of Italy. So that's Italy. You want to see the real story instead of this map. So let's go to it.
Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're talking about one of the coolest, strongest and most historically impactful civilizations of ancient Italy. We're talking about the Nuragic civilization. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh here, because these people are arguably the most obscure and mysterious people to live in the ancient world. The Nuragic people are the perfect example to show how geographic location is the most important factor for the cultural conservation, a culture that for the most part still lives to this day. The islands of Sardinia and Corsica were the location of many different invasions, first from Greeks, then from Carthaginians, then from Romans, Vandals and Byzantines. And all throughout these 2,000 years of constant exposure to foreign cultures and languages, they maintained theirs up until the early 500s by hiding up on the mountains of what Sardinians called the Barbagia Mountains. The origins of the latter came from the Latin word barbaria, meaning barbarian. The Romans used to refer like this to the lands they could not fully absorb into the Sardinian province. The term Nuragic refers to the architectural style which they used to build houses and fortresses. This is the style that helped them fight off any foreign force that tried to conquer them. However, not all the people living in Sardinia and Corsica were the same. They didn't even call themselves Nuragic, nor did they call their building Nurags, but Poliorbates. The two islands were divided into three main sets of tribes: the Iolais, the Balares, and the Corsicans, all of which have different origins which are pretty interesting. The Iolais were the biggest group in the family, and Greek writer Honius Mela considered them as the oldest people of the island. This statement is backed up by archaeological evidence that shows the objects and ruins of settlements of the same Iolais style were found all over the two islands, and not only on the southern half of Sardinia. Their borders went up to the river Tirso, which this map doesn't show and goes actually about 50 kilometers more north, but you get the idea. The tribes were originally 40, with all having their own king called Tespiadi, and they were all allied with each other in some loose way, which definitely did not stop them from killing each other sometimes. This was until the start of the Iron Age at around 900 BC, when the kings were kicked
It's
out
long
and
time.
a united assembly of nobles from all of the tribes took their place, creating a loose confederation. We know this because Greek historian Diodorus Siculus wrote this on one of his texts, where he explained that the Despiadi took refuge in Cuma, a Greek colony in southern Italy, just a bit north from Naples. The Iolais had quite strong bonds with the Greeks, even before they tried to settle on their land. People have found out that trade happened between them. Greek ceramic was found in Sardinia dating to 800 BC, and also other Sardinian products were found in Rhodes and other Greek islands. Iolais, though, were mostly famous for their cheese. The name Iolais refers to the ancient Iberian word for settlement. Also, other terms found in other writing from Sardinia show some Iberian roots. In fact, a popular theory states that the Nuragic civilization, especially the Iolais, which I want to remind you were the first inhabitants of the island, were originally of pre-Indo-European origin. This does make sense because they do have many parallels with the Basques, which go on until today. They followed a shepherd lifestyle, they hid mountains from invaders, they were also navigators and kept much of their genetic heritage and language for a long time. The other tribe just north from the Tirso River was called the Balares. They were not native of the island. They originally came from either northern Spain or the Balearic archipelago. It is unclear, but Greek sources claim that they were related to the Cantabri. But again, it's ancient Greeks, so take it with a grain of salt. Unlike the Iolais language, the Balearic language is even closer to ancient Iberian, but unlike the Iolais language, it is 100% extinct. The latter is mostly still alive in modern Sardinian dialect, which is basically a mix of Nuragic languages with some Latin words and pronunciation. The last were the Corsicans, which I was in doubt if to include them in this video or not because of the link they had with another ancient Italian civilization, but I guess I can talk a bit about them as well since there's not much else to say. Just like the Baleares, the Corsicans came from another part of Europe, mixed in with the natives Iolais and adopted their culture. They came from Liguria and they were descendants of the Ligurians, a people group which was as well the result of a Celtic tribe mixing with an Italian tribe. Ligurians were often used by the Romans as mercenaries in the northern front and were described as short and with dark ginger hair. The Corsicans were just like them, except they preferred sailing and raiding like if they were pirates. Their favorite summer activity was raiding by the coast of Tuscany. The Etruscans did try to settle on their island to sort of patrol the coast and lower the rates of raids, but it did not work out very well. Corsicans also lived north of the Baleares territory, and this suggests that the relations between the two were far from friendly. The Corsicans were the ones that got absorbed into Roman culture the fastest, due to the already noticeable Etruscan influence in the coastal communities. But the Iolais were having none of that. They hid in the mountains in complete isolation, built funny-looking castles, and just minded their own business. That was until 594, when a big Sardinian ruler called Ospito was convicted by Pope Gregory the Great to convert to Christianity, opening the Barbagia Mountains to the rest of the world, except that no one really cared, other than the church, that is. Today, most of the costumes, the language, fortresses, and even the genes, as far as we know, are very much intact and will most likely stay this way for at least a couple of more centuries. Speaking of the other two, the Baleares and the Corsicans, most of what we know about them, which is very little, is from other foreign sources. To be fair also with the other ones, but at least we know way more and we can guess more from what they left behind. That being said, thank you for watching and I will see you next time with a brand new video.
to understand that the Romans watched the video. Now it tells us that it lasted a long time ago. So if I can read here, during the early Middle Ages, Latin or Italian Thessalonica suffered a series of wars constant to Goths and the Buzites and the Lombards. The day of Christmas of the year 1800. Wow. So the day of Christmas for Italian was starting the year 800. So that was thousands, I wouldn't say thousands, but trillions of years ago, or millions, either millions or trillions. I'm not sure, man. So, the day of Christmas in the year 800 BC. That's a long time. Pope Leo, and who Pope Leo tried to give the Germanic ruler tried to give the Germanic crown to what's his name? Is there a name called Charlie Magin? Charles, he tried to. So I can see how Pope Leo gave the crown to Charles, and Pope Leo, he probably made the crown for him. Give the crown to Charles with the title of Holy Roman Emperor, right? That's very interesting. And as such, also Surian of northern Italy, with the exclusion of the papal state, the Roman pontiff to the Germanic emperor became the universal power of Italy in Europe, but then entered in conflict with in conflict for the investiture controversy in the clash between their factions, the Giloifs and Giblines, and struggle between the papacy and the empire led to the collapse of the imperial feudal system in Italy between the humiliation of Queen Rosa of Emperor Henry IV at the feet of Pope Gregory VI, and men told they of Tuscany Tuscany, 1077 of the Treaty of Right signed by Frederick Barsoa and Pope Alexander III of the Battle of Lanel 1177 propel claims to temporal authority were put forward with the dictaspide and third Lorraine Council. By the 12th century, Italy organized the Republican city-state called Como, except for Kingdom of Sicily formed the Normans. And exclusive of the entire missile in 1095. Pope Urban called the First Crusade and open Mediterranean trade to the maritime republics. Maritime republic. Huh? If we go to Category 6, pop scene. He was a member of the Holy Roman Empire. Roman Empire. Let's see. A lot of times, eh? Well, as a result of an Italian commercial revolution at the shift European economy from agriculture to trade caused the birth of banking university in Italy. The commercial revolution, if I can read that real quick. Commercial revolution caused in the creation of European economy based on trade, which began in 11th century and lasted until it was succeeded by Industrial Revolution in the mid 18th century, beginning with Crusade European who discovered spike in silk and other commodities were in Europe. This development created a new desire for trade, and trade expanded in the second half of the Middle Ages, luring from European state through a vast ridge of discovery were looking authoritative trade route in the 15th and 16th century, which allowed the European power to build vast new international trade network. Nation also sought new sources of the wealth and practiced the more capitalism and colonialism. Commercial revolution is marked in increase the general commerce and in the growth of financial services such as banking, research and investing. Wait, the commercial revolution, the Roman Empire. So the commercial revolution, it began in the 11th century, guys. I would tell you, the Roman Empire and the commercial revolution. But the commercial revolution, the European economy tried, began in the 11th century. 11th century. That's the early world. It started. The early ancient world started. I'm not talking about the morning, which is the early morning. I'm talking about the early age, the early world, ancient world, the early ancient world. Here. So that was way back then when we was born. This was a long time. Beginning of the Crusades, Europeans discovered. They discovered spikes, silks. What was spikes? So spikes. These are the pictures of the spikes. They were probably, the spice I would say spice like for seasoning. I'll say seasoning for your food you've been eating. So I think it's for when you put it on spaghetti, or but I'm not sure. Of it. So spice like spicy means hot. It's hot, like hot food, spicy hot foods. Now for me, I love spicy hot foods. Tastes good, but will never last long without no water to drink, because spicy foods are flaming hot when you eat them. Because the seasoning, the pepper inside the seasoning, it makes it spicy enough to burn your tongue or your mouth when you're eating your food as well. Especially when it comes to Italian food or Spanish food or something that's spicy. If I want to try spicy pasta with a little bit of seasoning inside, that would taste good. But also, gotta watch out for the flaming hot, because it could be flaming flames. Now silk. Now what it was silk? This is a picture of a silk from a butterfly, or from a caterpillar. Sorry, a caterpillar then turns into a butterfly. Yeah, four of the most important devastation silk moths. Top two bottom bar ox mori howl loop halfa co-crop ufa. Oh my god. I if Asiruhura Pun Yi Sama Cynthia from Mayer's Conversations Lexicon from 1885 to 1892. That's a long time, alright? They must have a long day making coons. Silk is a natural protein fiber some forms of which can be woven into textiles. The protein fiber to silk is composed mainly of fiber and reproduced in certain insect the wave to form cocoons. The best known silk obtained from the cocoons of the larvae of the lumberary silkworm boom ox moray where in the comparatively sericulture the shivering imperience of the silk is due to the trine-like present like the structure of the silk fiber, which allows silk cloth to reflect in coming light to different angle, and thus producing different colors. Wow, man. So you see, I think so these wonderful insects must have really worked their ass off to really make some good silk. Okay, this is in Chinese. How am I gonna read this in Chinese? I'll try my best. Silk in seal script. Top traditional middle and simplified bottom Chinese. Traditional Chinese. There's no actual word for me to read it. Simplified Chinese. Standard Mandarin. Han European. Wait. Gilotini. IPA. You Cantonese. Here. Yale. Romanization. IPA. Due to Ping. Southern Men. Thai Lao. Middle Chinese. Old Chinese. Boxer 1992. Boxer Star. Sagar 2014. Just 2014. Silk producing raspy cricket, which is a grasshopper. Silk is produced in several insects, but generally only silk of moth caterpillars been used to text manufacturing. There has been a research until other types of silk, which differ into molecule level. Silk mainly produced by the lyrid and of the insect undergoing complete metamorphosis. But some insects, such as web spinner and raspy crickets, produce silk without their larvae. Silk production allowed occurs in Humidia, bees, wasps, and ants, silverfish, mayflies, strips, leaf hoppers, beetle, lice, wings, fleas, and flies and maggots. Other types of multipods produce silk, mostly noted nobly various orchids such as spiders. When we go back in Italy, they must have really discovered silks too. After the spices, then there's the silks. Italian way of thinking. But the Italian lifestyle. This is what it is. The Italian lifestyle. Yeah, man. They like discovered and search about silks and spices. Spices for foods. So, spices like chili pepper, hot sauce, or the spicy seasoning in your food. So spices, the silks from the caterpillars, they made cocoons into it before they turned to a butterfly. Now I used to have a caterpillar once, kept in the jar. We probably forgot to close it back up. And I never seen the bat. It flew around the place, and you know what I'm saying? Never seen the bat flew around the place. Cause it was a bat. It's supposed to be a butterfly, but instead, my parents were really scared. They were really fucking scared, man. They killed that piece of shit. And when I woke up, it's already dead. I don't know how they killed it, but with a broom or with a slipper. But it was flying around the place, around the house. They won't leave. It won't leave. It won't really leave the house. Just fly around. I never noticed because it was like in the morning time. But that's what happened. So it turns into a butterfly afterward. After they make the silk. After they make the silk, it turns into a butterfly. That's interesting. Very cool. Very talented. Yeah. And other common whereas in Europe, this development created a new distant trade. The trade expanded in the second half of the Middle Ages. Newly forming European state through villages of discovery. We're looking for into alternative trade routes in the 15th and 16th century, which allowed the European powers to build vast new international trade network. Nations also sought new forces of wealth and practice. Oh, I read that already. Jeez, man. Yeah, I read that already. In the commercial revolution is marked in the increased general justice and in the growth of services such as banking and census and investing. Yep. So this is what they did back then. From the commercial revolution, from the Middle Ages to Pablo and Charlie and the culture and the commercial revolution. When I watched the video, some of the items or culture sculptures. He said it was in the 2000 back in about 2,000 years ago. I think that's what he said. That's what the man had said when I watched it. Yeah. But we're gonna watch another video about probably the same guy again. About what happened. So about another video about Italy and about the Roman warriors. So let's do it.
Hello fellas and welcome back. Now today we're not talking about Italian civilizations. Well, technically they are in Italy, just they're not Italian. They were Greeks who came from their homeland in search of better land to farm and build beautiful cities, one of which was Syracuse. Syracuse was founded around 750 BC by a group of Corinthian Greeks.
Language,
the city lies on a small
I would probably
island just off
visit
the coast of Sicily.
beautiful place and see what is going on.
Position. Syracuse was not the only city to be founded by the Greeks at this time. In fact, the Greek towns were coming up all over southern Italy at this time, which they called Magna Graecia. And the regions where they settled were Sicily, Sardinia, Calabria, Apulia, and Campania, as well as many other corners of the world, such as southern France, Catalonia, Libya, and the Black Sea. The only people who had a similar expansion to the Greeks before them were the Phoenicians and their grandchildren, the Carthaginians. The latter had settlements in Sicily as well, but only on the west, while most of the Greeks had settled in the east. Before we go on into Syracusan history, let's talk about the natives. Now, the Sicilian natives were divided mainly in three groups: the Sicanoi, the Siciloi, and the Elimoi. And they have been living on the island for God knows how long. Except we do know for how long some of them are living there. It seems that the Sicanoi were the first to come in, at least according to Greek sources, and they were of Iberian origins. The Elimoi of Ligurian origin, just like the Corsicans we have been looking at last time, and the Siciloi came from Calabria and were related to another tribe called the Morgeres. According to legend, the Sicanoi were pushed west after the Etna, a huge volcano in the area, erupted in the 15th century BC, destroying much of their land. Then the Sicanoi arrived and took it. Before the 8th century, the natives had little to no problem with foreign settlers, because at the time, the only ones who wanted to live there were the Carthaginians, who were not interested in farmland and just wanted some cost for trade. They also made the natives very happy because they brought them cool stuff like ceramic, weapons, art, and food they had never seen before. Everything was nice and good until the Greeks arrived. Maybe the first Greeks who reached the island just wanted to trade and be friends, but then they started moving in, and the Greeks didn't want just to trade, they wanted farmland, and they were going to take it no matter what. The Greeks kept on flooding in, and cities kept on growing, so the natives eventually lost their independence and were absorbed in the city-states, government thingies. Now, back to Syracuse. Now, Syracuse stood out in history because they were not very Greek in terms of politics. In fact, they were not exactly famous for their love of democracy. Syracuse had several very good and bright tyrants in the course of history, all of which brought them to greatness, through war mostly. Their first tyrant was called Gello, who started the Syracusan tradition of killing its enemies and being badass. He was in charge from 491 to 478 BC. After he died, Syracuse kept on being a rising superpower, eventually getting the attention of Athens, who was jealous of their wealth. So in 415 they tried to attack the city with a huge fleet and lost badly. 9 years later, a general and brilliant politician called Dionysius dismantled the democratic government and nominated himself the new tyrant of Syracuse, thanks to his little army of mercenaries, for which he will become very famous. In fact, also in the expansion for Rome too, Rise of the Republic, Dionysius was the leader of the faction of Syracuse as this little thing in which he can basically hire whoever mercenaries he wants, which I feel like it's pretty cool. He was a very competent ruler, also a lover of the arts and science. In order to gain complete control over the island, Dionysius started a war with Carthage from 397 to 392. He did not kick them out of the island as he wanted, but he did weaken them and show them who was the boss, as in he gained most of the power in the island. He later allied with the Lucanians in Calabria against the Greek city of Rhegium, which he pillaged and sold their inhabitants as slaves, by the way. Then he moved to Caere in 383, an Etruscan city, and pillaged that as well because he wanted it to be easier for the ships to trade in the area. He also allied with Rome after that. Then he founded 3 cities by the Adriatic, one of which was Ancona, just because complete control of 2 seas was not enough, so he added the Adriatic to the pile. He became friends with the king of Epirus, Alcetus, by paying an Illyrian army to put down a huge rebellion for him. Now that's friendship. When Dionysus died, his son, Dionysus II, took power, but he was a stupid brat, so his reign is not remembered much. Other than the fact that he had little to no support in the city and was exiled to another one in Calabria called Locri, where he was also kicked out because he remained a piece of shit. While he was away, his son Apollocrates stayed in power in Syracuse, but he was not better than him, than his father, as he is described as an alcoholic idiot. Dionysius II reigned Syracuse for another 5 years until he died and the republic was restored, but it would not last, because in 270 a new tyrant came to power. This time he will be the most remembered of all. His name was Gelo II, and he reigned until 215 BC. Now, as far as I know, this guy didn't have much connection to the first Gelo. He was in fact of native descent. But he is so remembered because of his role in the First Punic War, which was to side with Rome, leading Syracuse to a new golden age of culture, riches, and trade. But then his grandson, Hieronymus, came along after he died and was like, nope, and instead allied with Carthage during the Second Punic War, which you cannot really blame. I mean, Carthage seemed to have the advantage this time, with Hannibal and all. But as we know, this turned out to be a mistake, because in 212 BC, Romans seized the city. Fortunately for them, the Greek inventor Archimedes happened to be living at this time, and with the help of his scary anti-fleet equipment, the Romans wet their pants, figuratively and literally, because their ships were sinking. All of this legendary fighting all went to shit when 2 guards at the door betrayed the whole city and let the Roman legions come in. And that's the story of Syracuse. I want to make a change this time. I want you to decide which civilization you want me to cover next, because it actually took me some time just to decide which one I wanted to do. Because all of them really inspired me, except for Taras, but yeah. So, among the ones left, we have the Veneti, the Insumbres, the Senosis, and Taras. Let me know what you think by voting at the link below, or on the comment section. The one which will get the most votes will be the one I will be covering next week. And after next week, expect not to get that much content from me. I'm gonna be moving out and starting university, so you'll see how it goes. See you next time with a brand new video.
Well guys, thanks for watching this YouTube video, this philosophy part 2. We'll see you again on the next philosophy by Johnny Nobise History Channel. You guys stay safe and enjoy this video. I'll see you next time, guys.